Hey, how's it going? So, I wanted to shoot this video for you because I received a message from someone on social media, and it was really interesting because it's not the first time it's come up. The message basically said, how can I avoid toxic people during exercise and stay motivated? I feel like exercising just isn't as fun anymore. Now, this is really interesting for a couple different reasons. One, in the space that I occupy in health and fitness, I really focus on body positivity and health at every size. And when it is a toxic environment, when it feels like there's judgment and shame and ridicule based around what you're doing to better your body, right? These decisions are coming from you, not someone else on the outside. You get to make the decision what you do. It makes me sad. It makes me a little sad because I know that everyone's moving their body to the best of their ability. Everyone's doing their own thing. For instance, if CrossFit is your thing, do CrossFit. If Zumba is your thing, do Zumba. If going for walks every day is your thing, do your walks. There's no reason to label the exercise you're doing as bad or good or not good enough. There's no reason to say that you are not fit because you're not doing X or Y. Everyone has different availability within their body, and what needs to be celebrated is the fact that you are able to move your body in whatever capacity that is. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. There's no need to label it in any way. So that's my answer to the first part of that. Your ability to move your body in and of itself in any way that you can is truly a magnificent moment to be able to witness within yourself, and it deserves to be celebrated. The other part of that that needs to be focused on is the understanding that when you have that fear that someone is looking at you, judging you, any of that, it's actually you who is feeling that, right? Any emotion or feeling that we are having that we think someone else is having, if we put up a mirror, it's just how we're actually feeling, right? It's just the thought that we're having, the idea, the story that we are truly leaning into. And this is really big. This is really hard to digest and to understand and to have because we want it to be where someone else is feeling or thinking or doing all those things because then it gives us permission to get small. It gives us permission to do less, to feel less than, to have those thoughts and ideas validated. But I'm here to tell you that it's not true. Those stories or ideas, those feelings that you're having, you're allowed to have them. You're not bad for having them. But at the same time, you have to recognize that it's part of the story. It's part of the narrative that's being created. And this is something that I work on a lot with clients. To be able to recognize or to be able to say, this is something from Susan Davis, the author of the book Emotional Agility, we have to be able to acknowledge the thought or the idea and not say that it makes us bad or good. Case in point, if we are feeling a certain way, it's really important that we can say, I notice that I am feeling, or I notice that this is making me feel blank. If we can say what the feeling is, then we can begin to unpack it. If you can't say what the feeling is, you're likely to layer on guilt, shame, anger, frustration, to keep packing those things on, and then you try to shove them down and it kind of explodes or get worse. Or you could have it another way. There could be someone who hears what I'm saying right now and says, well, why should that person feel that way? At least they can move their body, right? So what that does, that perpetuates guilt, which turns into shame, right? We're going to guilt or shame someone to feel bad for the feeling that they are having, right? How dare I feel uncomfortable moving my body because someone else has no legs? No, there's no moral standing on the emotions that you're feeling. You're allowed to have them. They're allowed to exist. So that's part two to that. The feelings that you are having are completely valid because they're feelings, they're emotions, and they're allowed to exist. So that's part two. Now, if we want to look at it from a training standpoint, how can you make training fun? See, this is the thing that I picked out from that conversation with that person was they felt uncomfortable because they felt like other people were judging them. But the reality was, after some conversation, the reality was they weren't enjoying what they were doing. So they were looking for an out. They were looking for a way to get out of what they were doing. So the better question to ask yourself is not I'm afraid of judgment, I'm afraid of fear, I have all these things, is I don't like what I'm actually doing. So I want to do something else. If we can acknowledge that that is what's actually happening, well, then you can completely transform the way you are training, the way you go about things. So the first question you have to ask yourself, the first question you truly have to ask yourself is, what do you enjoy doing? What form of training do you actually enjoy having? What do you enjoy doing? That is what people skip out on. Oftentimes they'll go to the shiny thing. Oh, I should do CrossFit. Oh, I should enter a marathon. Oh, I should, in order to fit someone else's label of what fit looks like. In order to fit the label of I need to be on Health and Fitness magazine, or I need to fit in certain clothes, or I need to look a certain way. I'm giving you permission right now. You don't need to do any of those things. It's not truly important to do any of those things. What is important is that you can move your body however you choose to move your body, but make sure you're moving your body for you. So what do you enjoy doing? If you don't enjoy CrossFit, if you don't enjoy running, if you don't enjoy any of those things, you don't have to do them. Because what we're looking to do for our health and fitness is create a habit, right? And a habit needs to be attractive. It needs to be something that we actually want to do or enjoy doing. If we do not like the things we are doing, we're not going to follow through on them. It needs to just be the entry point. So I have a client, and she very much wants to get into health and fitness, but she's done this many times where she kind of snowballs it and it grows, and then she falls off the bandwagon. You know, where you say, I'm going to work out 6 days a week, I'm going to do X or Y, I'm going to train 2 hours a day, I'm going to cut all this out of my diet, I'm going to do X or Y, right? We all do that, and it's not your fault. Diet culture kind of puts that into place, and I'm here as now, I think, an anti-diet coach to tell you that those things are kind of a cycle, part of a diet cycle, and we want to break through that. So the way you can break through that is by starting really, really small. So one way to add fun into your training is ask yourself what you enjoy doing and then actually doing the thing. So for her, she really enjoys going for walks. She used to go for like 2-hour walks, and she doesn't do it anymore. So that was her habit. Her habit was every day at 3:30 p.m., I am going to change into my walking clothes. And then the trigger happened where she would go for her walk, right? You have to make it really small, because then what you start to identify as is the person who exercises, or the person who goes and moves their body with joy, with intention to have joy or to pursue joy. That's completely different, right? Case in point, I had another client who they really wanted to work out, had a really hard time about it, and I gave them the challenge of just going to the gym for 10 minutes. What? Yep, just showing up at the gym, being there for 10 minutes, and then you could leave. And they did that. They did that for the entire length of Project Aligned and Alive, and they built up to where they would be at the gym for 45 minutes. But anytime they just wanted to go and be there 10 minutes and leave, that was completely fine. You have to have the entry point be something small enough that allows you to follow through on it. So number one is ask yourself what you enjoy, ask yourself how you feel about it, and that's how you can build it down. That's the entry point. Because then that takes you to the next point, which is you have to program with fun in mind. You have to follow some sort of training plan if you do that, right? I like intuitive movement. I'm at a point in my health and fitness journey where I can listen to my body and know exactly what it needs that day and do it. But if you're not really familiar with training or you haven't been doing it that long, that can be kind of intimidating, right? To say what you actually want and think that it's okay. I know, shocker, but it is. It can be intimidating. So what we actually want to do, or what you get to begin to do, is this. You could program with fun in mind. Fun in mind looks like this, sounds like this. The 5 Ps. Now, this is something from GMB Fitness. When I was one of their lead trainers, when I was one of their trainers, this is how we programmed everything. And Ryan Hurst and the rest of the team at GMB are geniuses, because this is one of the best ways to program, in my opinion. I've done it all. I've studied them all. This is the one that tends to resonate most with me and works really well for all my clients. And it's how I program for them, how I program for Project Aligned and Alive, for when we do our group training sessions. And it's this. The 5 Ps. So you have your prep, your practice, your play, your push, your ponder. 5 Ps. That's all it is. That's it. So no, what it is, it gives you a little more specificity to what you're doing. So your prep isn't like a general warm-up. It's actually, I'm going to be specific with what I'm doing. If I'm doing squats, I'm going to spend time warming up my hips and ankles. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes, as opposed to doing a 15-minute prep, right? And then we practice. We practice a specific skill, something we want to get better at. It can be a squat, it could be a cartwheel, it could be a push-up, it could be a dance move, it could be a TikTok move, right? It could be whatever you want, but you're going to practice it for a set amount of time. And then you're going to play. You're going to take the skill you've been working on for a while, whatever it is, and you are going to explore it. You are going to let your body do what your body wants to do. There's no right or wrong way to go about it. This is what most people are missing in their training. They don't have any play. They don't have any exploration. And when you give that to someone, it can be overwhelming. So that's why we keep it really small. It might just be try to squat a little bit lower. Try to move your foot a certain way when you are going into your cartwheel, right? It could be whatever it is, and just play with it, explore it. It could be super short. And then we go into our push. Our push is what people might call conditioning, but I like to look at it as it's a way for you to push yourself where you currently are in your journey. So what does that mean? Every body is a different body. Everyone's hard is a different version of hard. So what we have to understand is we can dial back the skill we were practicing to be at an entry point for you where you can find success, but you can also challenge yourself, right? So this is the beautiful thing. We can have fun as we challenge ourselves if we use this. And I'll talk more about that in a bit, but then we move on to ponder. Ponder is where you're stretching your body, you're moving your body, but what you're actually doing is you're reflecting back on the session. You can ask yourself certain questions, and this is what every one of my clients does. They ask themselves, what did I enjoy today? What didn't I enjoy about this? What did I learn from this training session? What would I do differently? Or what am I going to do differently next time? Because no matter how the session goes, there is always something you can learn. No matter what failures you think you have, you're actually taking data points and you're learning so you can make a different decision next time. So that's how training can become more fun, because you're actually learning, you're actually growing. And when we have that, we feel like we have purpose. We feel as if we are moving forward. When we don't feel like we're learning, when we're not growing, we feel frustrated, we feel stuck, we feel like we can't go anywhere. So that's what's missing from a lot of people's current training, is that you feel stuck because you're not actually learning and you're not actually growing. Some other things you can do is you can remove the idea of focusing on reps and solely reps. I say this a lot, but I mean it. When we focus on repetitions over and over and over again, having to hit a certain number to find success, we feel less than, we feel beaten down, we feel like we have a failure. I like to focus on time. If we focus on time, it's not about how many repetitions you can perform. It's about how many times you can do something with beautiful quality form. If we focus it on that way, you see an increase in strength, flexibility, and control, but also it removes the pressure of having to be a certain way, hit a certain number, to look a certain way, or be a certain way, right? I'm not a fan of scales. I'm not a fan of reps. They are important. It's an important structure, an important tool to have in the toolbox. But if you feel like you're not having fun, try switching things up and going for time to get away from that. And then, look, you can have an entire session where you play. You play around a specific thing. This morning, I had biked yesterday. I'm really getting into cycling. I enjoy it. It's very meditative for me. My legs were kind of sore. So what did I do? I picked one movement, one stretch, and I explored it. I did a half kneeling lunge, and I explored it for like 10 minutes. And that's all I did, because I was sore, but also because it's meditative for me. It allows me to explore what my body is capable of, what I am capable of today, not what someone else is capable of. And there's no right or wrong way to go about it. And then the other thing that you can consider, again, is going back and recognizing that no one is truly mocking me. No one is truly judging me. It's only I who am feeling that way. And if we can identify the feeling, acknowledge the feeling, then you can begin to break it down. Now, this is something that I do with my clients. And if this is something that you like, or you want to know more about, or really resonates with you, please comment below. Let me know, because I'm more than happy to go into this even more. I'm more than happy to help you along the way. And just let me know what you think.